All right, y'all. First and foremost, want to give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son, Mashiach, who some call Yahweh Shai, Yeshua, Yehoshua, Yah, Yah, Yahushua. We mostly know as Jesus Christ. I want to, first give a shout out to the brothers who, the brothers Genesis, Priest Akar, and brother Hassad, and Ratazan, and the brothers over there, BOW, and Shalakia. Apologies, the other brother who also is head over those BOW Israelites. I forget the brother's name. Make sure y'all go over there and watch. I seen it on Priest Akar's Genesis channel, Genesis mode. I seen the debate there. This is not, this is something that is constantly went on, and I don't know if Genesis is the only one. I mean, not Genesis, but GMS. I don't know if GMS the ones that birthed this. I'm wondering, is GMS the ones that birthed it? Give me a one in the chat, y'all, if y'all can hear me. And Shalom, my brother Chris Briggs in the building early. Give me a one in the chat, y'all, if you can hear me. I didn't even get a notification on my phone. Hold on. I may have a notification here. Yeah. I did get a notification. Mic check. Okay, we got a one. Mic check. But yeah, if you didn't see the debate, it came down to the same things, man. And these things that continue to be regurgitated no matter what. Now, the last time I addressed this, I addressed this, not too long ago. And brothers got salty. Brothers reached out to me. And initially it was some things, man. There was some things said initially, and then brothers reached out, and we kind of called a truce on information. Basically, they need to hear your side and hear my side, but my points weren't addressed. And when you hear brothers talk about, oh well, when you watch that debate, or if you watched it and you see the BOW brothers talking about integrity and brothers lying on sources and brothers not being honest about sources, and of course these same sources were used again, and some of the same tactics were used again, and we're gonna show some of these. And when I was watching, I would say, you know what, let me just look at this one part. Let me just look it up. Let me just look up what he just said. And I was like, boy, here he go again. There he go again. Israel, Judah, peace and blessings. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Y'all see that? Genesis camp leaders Hassad and Priest Akar are finished. Lunar Sabbath response. I did a video responding to a presentation they did on the Lunar Sabbath. This was 8 months ago. Got 3.5 thousand views. That's viral for me. We average about 100, 150, 200. But we get 3.5 to getting them thousand like that. That's a viral moment. We can only do this with the help of these brothers. But they were dead wrong, and they knew they were dead wrong, but brothers ate it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna speak on it again. Every time you bring up these information, every time you try to use these sources and you misquote them and you putting your own information up there, I'm gonna speak on it. But you see here, we did have classes like an hour. We ain't gonna go through this. You can go there if you and watch it. But when you see the BOW saying, hey man, these folks already been called out about how they use sources. They already been called out. And did they do a response video? Did they say, oh well, Brother Phineas is wrong? No. And what you're gonna see in there is they're gonna try to use these sources and they're gonna try to discredit some of the other people. But I already had did this, man, and went over this, but I just wanted y'all to see that 8 months ago we already had we already did a response to this lunar stuff, and I guess he done built it back up and selected, and I seen them today. They were saying, well, we asked all of these camp leaders to do it, and he called out names of certain camp leaders, in a lot of camps, really, it's like I say, I don't know if GMS is the ones who is the originators of this doctrine, but those under that umbrella seem to be the only ones teaching it. And then others who've gleaned to it, who in these days, I won't say these days, but I don't think it's been taught maybe about 15, 20 years, maybe. But a lot of people are attaching on to it with these kind of situations. But are we here for truth, or are we here to just win the debate and do like for me? Once you lie on sources, it's over with for me. Like, you can't be trusted. Like, you'll do anything, you'll say anything, you'll put anything on that slide, and we've come to a place of peace, brother. Shalom, son Lo, stranger that sovereign's among you. Shalom, shalom. We've gotten to a place, if somebody puts it on a slide, we just take it as, oh, that's what it says. And that's not the case, y'all. You have to go back and check these folks. Let me take this down, and let me go to a couple of clips here.
He was projecting, not a credible source. Look at this.
Now, let's look at the first source here. The first source here is Roman History 37, Cassius Dio, 37, chapter 37, verse 18. Is referring to the 7 stars called planets was instituted, referring to days to 7 stars called planets was instituted by the Egyptians, but is now found among all mankind. Though its adoption has been comparatively recent, at any rate, the ancient Greeks never understood it, so far as I am aware, so far as I'm aware. But since it is now quite the fashion with mankind generally, and even with the Romans themselves, this really has nothing to do with Israel. This particular slide, but we gonna see, man. When you making slides for me, and this is my opinion. If you gonna quote the text, if you're gonna source it, put it up there. Don't summarize it with your own words. Don't try to summarize it. Put it up there, what it actually says.
Was the first day of the week. This shows he was projecting, not a credible source.
So he's trying to, discredit this source from 2,000 years ago. With the fact that, oh, well, he's talking about the stars, and he's saying that it happened on the first day. Is that what he said? Look at
this. In his book, 37:18, he says that the Romans adopted the week from the Egyptians and the Babylonians, not from the Israelites. But look at this. The very next verse, verse 19, it says, if you begin at the first hour to count the hours of the day and of the night, assigning the first to Saturn. First day, first hour goes to Saturn. Then he goes down to say, allowing it to be understood that the God who is found by this system to preside over the first hour of each day shall also give his name to that day. Christian Corey, you better hit that sniper soundbite.
Now he's using this to try to discredit again, because Cassius actually says that no, they kept a 7-day Sabbath on Saturday. They kept it. And so what he's trying to do is say, well, he also said this. And so we got to discredit and throw Cassius out the window because he said this right here also. But he's not reading you what Cassius is actually saying. And what does any of this have to do with Israel? He said, if you begin the first hour to count the hours of the day and the night, assigning the first to Saturn, the next to Jupiter, the third to Mars, the fourth to the Sun, the fifth to Venus, the sixth to Mercury, the seventh to the Moon, according to the order of the cycles which the Egyptians observe. And if you repeat the process, you will find that the first hour following day comes to the sun. And if you carry on the operation throughout the next 24 hours in the same manner as with others, you will dedicate the first hour of the third day to the moon. What does any of this have to do with Israel? Where is he saying that Israel is doing this? Where is he saying that? Like I don't, but let's get the source. Let's just go to the source. And you'll see that he even here he he kind of summarizing stuff, and nobody's asking you to do that. You shouldn't do that with sources. Just put up there what it says. Let me share screen here. Wait, hold on. Share screen. Cassius. Let me make sure y'all can see this. Yeah. All right. Now Cassius, Roman history 37:16. All right. Now, this is what he don't want to do. Like, he's trying to discredit this. Let me show you what he's trying to discredit first with Cassius. Let me show you what he's trying to discredit. He was at 18. He was at 18. We're gonna start at 16. And we're gonna read what Cassius is saying here. He said, most of the city, and this is like, I'm not finna, all you had to do is just copy and paste this and put it in on the slide. When you start remixing that stuff like that, man, it look shaky. Most of the city, to be sure, he took without any trouble, as he was received to the party of Hyrcanus. All right, this is Hyrcanus, John Hyrcanus. We know we went over this Hasmonean dynasty. We went over all the different kings, but we just went over it maybe a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. We was even talking about the Queen Salome. It was a brother that reached back to me and said, yeah, I looked it up. I seen the Queen Salome, and that was honorable, brother. Like, a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people can't go do the research, look it up for yourself, check it. Don't just listen to Phineas. Don't just listen to Priest Akah and Hassad. Don't just listen to them. Go back and check. Most of the city, to be sure, he took without any trouble, as he was received a party of Hyrcanus. But the temple itself, which the other party had occupied, this was when again with Queen Salome, her two sons got she ended up dying and went down to her two sons. Her two sons ended up fighting for the kingdom, and one got Herod to help them, and then one got the Rome to come in, and now it's at the point where the Rome has to come in and try to rectify this situation and take, they're gonna get a kingdom who they gonna give it to and put over it. But they done came in and they're gonna take one of the brothers out. For it was on high ground and was fortified by the wall of his own. And if they had continued defending it on all days alike, if they continued defending it on all days alike, if they kept the same kind of defense on every day, well, it was a day that they didn't keep the same defense. What day was that? What day did they stop fighting? It says, well, they kept defending it all the days alike. He could not have gotten possession of it. He couldn't have conquered it. As it was, they made an exception of what are called the days of Saturn. They made an exception on the days of Saturn. And the days of Saturn was for Rome, but for Israel, it was the Sabbath. And we're gonna also look at this in First Maccabees chapter 2, because we were doing it there also. And then Judas Maccabees like, bro, we gotta fight now, man. We gonna have to fight on the Sabbath. We ain't finna not fight, man. We ain't finna die like them other jokers. We gotta fight on the Sabbath. But you trying to discredit him when it's in the same situation is in the same type of situation is in the Apocrypha. And we'll look at it. As it was, they made an exception of what they call what are called the days of Saturn, and by doing no work at all on those days, afforded the Romans an opportunity in this interval to batter down the wall. The latter, on learning of this superstitious awe of theirs, made no serious attempts the rest of the time. But on those days, when they came round in succession, assaulted most vigorously. Thus, the defenders were captured on the day of Saturn. They were captured on the Sabbath. Now, Cassius Dio is a Roman historian. He's not an Israelite historian. All right, and so the history that he's given is really for Rome, but this is a part of Rome when they were dealing with Israel. All right, this ain't somebody just writing about this. This is about Rome, but With he has to write about the part where they had to deal with the Dawn Hasmonean dynasty. He had to take back and take Israel and make it a vassal state. But on those days when they came round in succession, assaulted most vigorously. Thus the defenders were captured on the day of Saturn without making any defense. And all the wealth was plundered. The kingdom was given to Hyrcanus, and Aristobulus was carried away. That's a brother. These two are brothers, Hyrcanus and Aristobulus. This is Hyrcanus, I want to say the second. Again, the sons of Queen Salome, when she died, they end up fighting each other. And this is how the Herodians end up getting into play. And, it's very important that we know this history, man. So if you don't, look for those classes. But it's very recent that I did that. This was a course of events at the time in Palestine. For this is the name that has been given from an old country extending to Phoenicia to Egypt along the inner sea. They have also another name that they have acquired. The country has been named Judea, and the people themselves Jews. Like he's he just explaining these people, but he's not these people. All right, he's a Roman historian. All right, giving this take from a Roman aspect and what they had to go in there and do. But Rome found out that these folks do not fight on Saturday, or what they call Saturn Day. They didn't fight, and so that's when they're gonna go to war and batter the wall down and get this joker up out of there, man. Get Aristobulus up out of that kingdom. He done went in the darn in the kingdom and locked himself up in there. And that was the only time they saying that, they went in there and actually did any fighting against them. Man, we're gonna fight them on a Sabbath day. Now, let me see if I can find this in the let me see if I can find this also here in the Apocrypha. First Mac. What I said? First Mac chapter 2. Yeah. There goes some of it. First Mac chapter 2. KJV, share this tab instead. We'll see a similar event here. 31. Maccabees 2. He told the servants, city of David. Ain't time to battle. Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll start up a bit. Let's start here. It says, now when it was told, 31, it says, now when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandment, were gone down in secret places in the wilderness. They pursued after them with a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, let us die in our innocence. Heaven and earth will testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, that they will now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him, neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them and were stayed unto them. But I just wanted to give that example. There of, in that first Maccabees chapter 2, 31 through 41, basically where Israel is refuses to fight. A portion of them refuse to fight on the Sabbath day. And then we see later on, later on within this, and this is before, Maccabees, this is the start of it. But later on, we see the same thing happening in the source that we used, in the source that we seen here, that that my brother is trying to discredit, that Priest Hakah is trying to discredit, where Rome is fighting against Israel. Rome got called in with this situation with John Hyrcanus and Aristobulus, fighting for the kingdom. Rome had to come in and make a choice. My bad, y'all. They booted me out. I don't know what happened to my internet. Hold on, let me share my screen again. We gonna read the rest of this source if we could yeah. Okay. Cassius Diaz. Shalom, brother Mike. So let's read the next page right here. It says, watch this now. Let me make sure we here still. And this is just the one I was just looking at, like the one I said, let me just check this. We'll see what he's talking about here. He says, I do not know this title. I do not know how this title came to be given to them. But it applies also to the rest of mankind. But I do not know how this title came to be given to them. What title are you talking about? All right, they calling themselves Jews in Judea. Cassius, again, a Roman historian. He don't know where the name came from. I don't know how they got this name. But it applies to all the rest of mankind, although of alien race who affect their customs. And I'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. This class exists even among Romans. These kind of people even exist among Romans, and though often repressed, has increased to a very great extent and has won its way to the right of freedom in its observances. They are distinguished from the rest of mankind in particularly every detail of life, and especially by the fact that they do not honor any of the usual gods. See, now he gonna say Cassius is trying to tell you to worship a Saturn god. I think that was on the last video that they did, was talking about, oh man, they worship the Saturn god. Cassius is sitting up here telling you that they don't worship any of them darn usual gods, but show extreme reverence for one particular deity. They never had any statue of him, even in Jerusalem itself, but believing in him to be an unnameable and invisible, they worship him in the most extravagant fashion on earth. And this is another thing too about the unnameable. Joker's going back and forth about this name doctrine, going My goodness, y'all bear with me. We gonna try to muscle through, man. By Verizon, boy. Man. Um, let me see here again, y'all. We gonna try it one more time, man. Let me go to present. Share screen. And they just kicking me out. It ain't like it's slowing up, it's just kicking me out. I don't know why I come up a little more. It says they are distinguished from the rest of mankind, and particularly every detail of life, especially by the fact that they do not honor any of the unusual gods, but show extreme reverence for one particular deity, divinity. They never had any statue of him in Jerusalem itself, but believe in him to be unnameable and invisible. They worship him in the most extravagant fashion on earth. They built to him a temple that was extremely large and beautiful, except in so far as to it was open and roofless, and likewise dedicated to him the day called the day of Saturn. All right, they dedicated to him the day that called the day of Saturn. That's what the Romans called it. They called it Shabbat. And watch what they do, on which among many others, most particularly particular observances, they undertake no serious occupation. They're not working on the day of Saturn. He don't know. He may not even know what it's called. Because he didn't even know, he don't even understand why they call themselves Jews. Why do they call themselves? Why is it Judea? He doesn't even know that. He don't know that history. He just giving you what he's observed that they do on what the day that he calls the day of Saturn. They don't do no work. And so Deacon has to discredit this source. Now, what is he discrediting this source? What is he discrediting it with this? He says the custom, however, of referring to days to the 7 stars called planets was instituted by the Egyptians, but is now found among all mankind, though its adoption has been comparatively recent. At any rate, the ancient Greeks never understood it, so far as I'm aware, but since it is now quite the fashion with mankind generally, even with the, like, is he even talking about Israel? He is talking about the custom of referring to days to 7 stars and called planets instituted by, that came from the Egyptians. He ain't even like his book ain't about Israel. This ain't connected to what he just said. He said the custom, however, of referring to days to the 7 stars called planets was instituted by the Egyptians, but is now found among all mankind, though its adoption has been comparatively recent. At any rate, the ancient Greeks never understood it, so far as I'm aware. But it is now quite the fashion with mankind generally, even with the Romans themselves, and is to them already in a way an ancestral tradition. I wish to write briefly of it, telling how and in what way it has been arranged. I heard 2 explanations. See, now he's trying to explain, why the Romans have taken these and instituted this thing that was instituted by the Egyptians, why they've taken this culture and made it their own, and almost where at a point where they're saying they got it from their ancestors. Now he's finna explain there's 2 explanations which are not difficult to comprehend, are not difficult of comprehension. It is true, though, they involve certain theories. For if you apply the so-called principle of the tetrachord, which is believed to be to constitute the basis of music, to the stars, by which the whole universe of the heaven is divided into regular intervals, in order in which each of them revolves, the beginning at the outer orbit assigned to Saturn. Then omitting the next 2 named, the Lord of the 4th, and after passing over the 2 others, reached the 7th, and he's trying to explain, how they gave them names through this instrument, and how you can go over these chords. All right, I don't know the instrument, so I can't really process what he's saying. But I do understand that he's saying that he's trying to give us the example of this tetrachord and how this instrument works, and explain that to how they were naming the days And then you go back and repeat the process with the orbits and their preceding divinities in the same manner, assigning them to the several days. You'll find all the days to be in a kind of musical connection with the arrangement of the heavens. This is one of the explanations given. The other is as follows. And if you see here, this is where Deacon starts to quote here. This is where Deacon starts to quote here. Let me see if I can find that video again. Hold on, y'all. Was it this one? No, it had to be this one.
First day of the week. This shows he was projecting, not a credible source. Look at this. In his book, 37:18, he says that the Romans adopted the week from the Egyptians and the Babylonians, not from the Israelites. But look at this. The very next verse.
That should be the end of it. They didn't get it from the Romans. They got it from they got it from the Egyptians. I mean, they didn't get it from the Israelites. They got it from the Egyptians.
Verse 19. It says, if you begin at the first hour to count the hours of the day and of the night, assigning the first to Saturn. First day, first hour goes to Saturn. Then he goes down to say, allowing it to be understood that the God who is found by this system to preside over the first hour of each day shall also give his name to that day. Christian Corey, you better hit that sniper soundbite. He's done. Cassio says Saturn was the first day of the week. Another example.
Okay. So he's saying Cassio. So they saying that he's saying that Cassio said that it's the first day of the week. Now let's go back to the source here. Let's look at what he didn't put up there.
Book 37:18, he says that the Romans adopted the week from the Egyptians and the Babylonians, not from the Israelites. But look at this. The very next verse, verse 19, it says, if you begin at the first hour to count the hours of the day and of the night, assigning the first to Saturn. First day, first hour goes to Saturn. Then he goes down to say, allowing it to be understood that the God who is found by this system to preside over the first hour of each day shall also give his name to that day. Christian Corey, you better hit that sniper soundbite. He's done.
Now let's look back what we seen here. Before pressing the screen, remove the other. Okay. Now we read in 18 already, which of course he didn't want to go over that. I have heard two explanations, which are not difficult to comprehension. It is true though, it involves certain theories. And then we go to 19. It says this is one of the explanations given. The other is as follows. Now he didn't put that up there. He skipped down and went here. All right. If you begin the first hour to count the hours of the day or the night, assigning the first to Saturn. You assign the first atom and that's what I'm saying. You got to understand the process of what he's saying. Assigning the first day to Saturn. I meant the first hour to Saturn. Y'all know what happened. Hold on, y'all. But let's say, I appreciate y'all hanging in there with these technical difficulties. Deacon is trying to prove that, hey, well, he's not saying the Saturn is the first day of the week. Well, he's saying that Saturn is the first day of the week. Even if that's the case, it's still our Sabbath. He's still stating that that's our Sabbath. Their first day of the week, if that's what they call Saturn day, their first day of the week, it still landed on our Sabbath. Like it's just, I don't understand. And again, he's only trying to do this because he wants to discredit this source. He wants to discredit this source, but the source still is saying that, even if that was the case, the source is still saying that that day was the Sabbath day. I don't, but it was just petty to try to go there and try to discredit a 2,000-year-old source. Um, and you didn't even you should have went through the whole process of how that works, and you should have went to 18 and showed that these are theories and traditions that have been told to him, or try to explain to him of how these things got assigned. um I also want to show y'all this, man, and it's really show y'all some of this from my brother. uh uh I put a few of them up here. I don't know if y'all can see that. I may just have to read it. But these were this is Lel brother Lel had put some of this up on Facebook. It says before Saturn Day, and this is an AI overview. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we got to get to the point now, y'all. Like, we got AI here, man. Like, we ain't got to keep guessing. We ain't got to keep sitting up here and playing. But that's if y'all just want to be entertained. He says before Saturn Day, which is associated with Saturday in Western traditions, Jews kept the Sabbath on the same day as they do now, which is Saturday. The biblical Sabbath is always considered the seventh day of the week in the Jewish tradition. This is let me just try to read these last little images, y'all, and we need to come back. We'll just come back. There's another one here. That was another source too. that Decalogue XXX, he misquoted that also. Yes, Philo of Alexandria mentioned that the Sabbath was on the seventh day of the week in his Decalogue XXX. He also noted that the great festivals, the unleavened bread, and the tabernacle festivals were held on the seventh day of the week during the equinoxes. That was AI. We don't have to. That's what I'm saying. We don't have to sit up here and play, and we don't have to guess. We don't have to debate, especially if we debating on what these folks said. Josephus also discussed the spread of Sabbath observance among non-Jews in the cities outside of Palestine. He refuted the idea that the Jews were forced to observe the Sabbath because of the bubonic boil, which was called by a similar word in Egyptian. But you see the answer here. Yes, Flavius Josephus of Antiquities of Jews said that the Sabbath was on Saturday. Let me pull up this last file here. And then I'm gonna have to get up out of here, man, before I get frustrated with this darn internet.
First day of the week. This
That's not it. Video.
The mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, we have Josephus, which now, unbeknownst to me, Josephus is not a credible source now.
You see, Josephus ain't a credible source. Cassius ain't a credible source. Philo ain't a credible source. And it's like, rather, you just can't win with these folks, man. And they know what happened to them. That's why they did another live right after that, trying to heal themselves. But the reality is too, out the gate, they don't have no integrity with these sources.
Now all of a sudden Josephus is not a credible source.
Yeah, they was glorifying
Josephus on that last video we clipped. They was glorifying Josephus and Philo. We're gonna get him in a minute because they lied on Philo too. And furthermore, we can't believe nothing they bring out because
y'all already lack integrity. Y'all already embellished.
But we got them lying on record, literally on sources. And if
we got them lying on record. Well, we got them lying at? Hold on. We got them lying on record. Hold on.
You ask for high-performance internet at a guaranteed price, and we listen. Get Extreme 1 gig with a 2-year price lock, including unlimited data.
Wars. Of course, Romans hate Jews. Y'all, first and foremost, give all. He said Genesis camp leaders, Hassad and priest call finished. Lunar Sabbath response. See, 8 months ago, when I did this video, all of those historians, they were leaning on him. But I did this video and showed how he lied on these sources. Now he doing a debate, and brothers is out here saying, man, y'all ain't got no integrity. Y'all already done lied on sources already. And like I say, man, there ain't no need to do it. Like, it's too much information. People have too much access to information now at their fingertips, man. You just got to stop it. This is one more clip here from my brother from LEL. Look, since Negroes ain't sugarcoating nothing, if you misrepresent, lie on your sources, and this is brother LEL of the House of Saints. If you lost the debate, if you agree that a week is made of 7 days, but you determine your days changing by the moon, but the full moon cycle doesn't change daily, only the sun does, you lost the debate. If you agree a week has 7 days, and then you add to it, point blank period. And then the whole floating days, man, is crazy. The whole floating days is crazy. That you don't count your last week, you just let it continue on. If it hit on you just let them last little 3 days just float on. You can do whatever You have no ordinances for those 3 days. You have no ordinances in the text for those 3 days. So you don't know if you can work. You don't know if you can. Y'all just making this stuff up, man. And I don't know. I don't get it. I do get it. I do get it. I done did camps with brothers. I done did camps with brothers on the Lunar. I done been at unity camps with Sakari, spectating and teaching. And I don't watch brothers. We teaching outside of Hooters. Brothers was teaching outside of Hooters. I don't know why. That's where they were teaching at. All right. But when I look back on it, like, man, we tripping, man. I look back on some of the things that came out, like, boy. Anyway, we was outside of Hooters. Okay. And Sakari's on the Lunar, brothers, the rest of the brothers on Sabbath, on Friday, Saturday, Sabbath, and brothers go inside to go eat. Brothers is packing up the camp, and then these brothers go inside of Hooters, they looking out the window. Brothers teaching, they looking out the window eating. And even that, you shouldn't even do that. Even if that's the case and that's your belief, you shouldn't do that because you can cause a stumbling for your brother. And I remember I was at a point. I remember being at a camp, and brothers, brothers is good brothers, man. It just, I think brothers is worshiping that Saturday. I think this is about holding on to the Saturday and holding on to the nightlife. They want to be around when people are around. They don't want to go to the club on Thursday. They don't want to go out and go out on the nightlife on Sunday. They want to be there on Saturday night. And matter of fact, they got Saturday night. So I don't even know, most of them got Saturday night. Friday night. They don't want to give up Friday night. But yeah, you know, just came in very heavy, and then we got to get up out of here because this thing is, I'm a little rocky. It was raining out here, so that could be what got me messed up. But I got something just came in, y'all. I gotta try to share this with y'all, and then we gonna get up out of here. Shout out, salute Hebrew Elevation in the middle. I got you up next. I got you up next with that convo y'all had. My goodness. I'm gonna try to get to you tomorrow with that conversation with that boy. That Ox said that the dude was ruddy like diamonds because he was cut up. He was ruddy like a ruby because he was cut up and his body was defined. My goodness, man, what we doing out here, man? My goodness, what are we doing out here? That boy said he was ruddy because he was cut like a ruby. Yeah. Now hold on, y'all. I got to show y'all these pictures that I just got in. Oh my goodness, that was just one. I only sent one. Hold on, y'all. I think we might have a source for where that lunar Sabbath comes from, and this may be the part you need to clip. Hold on, I'm just trying to email it to myself. We might have a source. We might have a source for where the lunar Sabbath comes from. And I've been working on this. I have been working on getting to this, but it's gonna be it'll be a great work to try to put this together, man. I need to do it right. Uh-oh. Lunar Sabbath. Hold on. Let's get him first. It says Jonathan David, November 20, was an American record producer and audio engineer known for his work on albums released in commentary Christian music industry. Brown served federal prison time as an accessory after the fact for helping a member of Tennessee White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan invade authorities. I just seen this. Now we're gonna have to make sure y'all check up on this. Make sure y'all check up on this. It says Brown published the book Keeping Yahweh's Appointments in 1998, which explained the practice of counting the Sabbath from the new moon day rather than the modern 7-day week. The lunar Sabbath movement has grown among the Armstrong Worldwide Church of God, 7-day Adventists, and Christian identity movements, and GMS, Genesis, Sakari, Israelite groups that come from out of GMS. This brother's connected in Christian identity. When it says Christian identity movements, we're gonna have to get into. We're gonna get to it this month. Y'all will we get to it this month? British Israelism. A lot of doctrine coming from British Israelism. A lot of doctrine coming from British Israelism, because in the 60s, in the 50s, what literature are they looking from? What literature are they getting when they go into the books? They trying to find who. British Israelism was very heavy. They had a whole bunch of literature out here, and some of these elders might have been gleaning from this stuff. And I'm gonna show some of the comparisons, the back and forth, and then the British Israelism has now gotten into the Christian identity movement, which is like a white racist, a white power Christian movement. It's called themselves the Christian identity movement. And so yeah, we're gonna have to look into that also. But they're saying that this brother right here, Jonathan David Brown, was an American record producer and auto engineer known for, and that had to be the most high, because I just, I was down and I went and looked at Facebook real quick. Let me give the brother some shout out to who put that up. I ain't even got him up there no more. Eliel still going in. LEL still going in. So we may come back to this because the video was so horrible. We might come back and revisit another time with my signal a little better. I'm a Verizon. That little Verizon internet just tripping, man. But Brown served federal prison in time as an accessory after the fact for helping a member of the Tennessee White Knights evade authority. And he probably was, a little hat. He probably was a little hat. And he ended up writing a book. Writing a book. And I'm gonna have to go get this book. I'm gonna buy the book. And I'm gonna see if he got them floating days in there. I might have to buy this book. Y'all, you keep playing. If I get too much bite back, I'm gonna buy the book. Keeping Yahweh's Yahawasap. I want to say it was Yahawasap that put this up, man. Salute to him. Keeping Yahawasap's appointments in 1998. He wrote this book. When did people start keeping the lunar Sabbath? Well, we know too that this thing kind of broke up in the 90s, in the mid 90s. And brothers started going and doing their own thing. And GMS could have got hold of this new book, could have got hold to it. I'm not sure, but yeah, this thing is still a hot topic, y'all. I still see LEL going in. I still see brothers who keep Friday, Saturday, Sabbath are still going in on brothers about this. But y'all, if you just go watch it, if you go watch it and just go back and just type in your phone, did he say that? Did he say what Deacon is saying? Did that scholar say what Deacon is saying he said? That's it. Did he say what you just heard? Deacon saying what he said, just go in there and type it. What did he say about the Sabbath? We have too much technology for us to be lying, for us to be playing with these sources, for us to still, for us to still be on the fence on some things. Some things aren't just, as clear. You know what I'm saying? But it's some things, man, it's just we shouldn't be on the fence about this stuff, man. It's just too much information out here to be playing with this stuff. But yeah, let me get on up out of here, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all hanging in there. If we need to revisit it, we'll revisit it. And I can put together a better presentation. This was kind of on the fly. And me just kind of throwing stuff together. And then, it has been I ain't, my signal shouldn't be operating like that. I got the fastest thing, Verizon selling. And it shouldn't be operating like that. Yeah, I may have to get a laptop. I'll figure it out. It's just stuff you got to figure out. But I pray this thing was edifying. If y'all have any questions, man, just leave it in the comments. And if we need to come back and revisit it, I'm sure we probably will. Because this thing ain't going down lightly. Brothers think they can just shove this thing off, and they not as mighty as they used to be, man. You ain't, you ain't got the numbers that you used to have, and brothers ain't sitting down. Brothers ain't sitting down on that. And like I said, it's just too much information, man, for us to be. You just make it worse on yourself now. We had a period now where you're just going to make yourself look crazy, because you're going to be trying to say that, well, the AI don't know what it's talking about. And, that's a hard sell. Not saying that the AI can't be wrong. I'm just saying that's a hard sell. It's a hard sell. Especially when you're dealing with stuff outside of the text and you're dealing with sources and what scholars are saying and you're not dealing with a lot of inside of you're dealing with stuff outside the text. We'll revisit if we need to, y'all. Y'all just hit the comments, let me know. Again, y'all pray this thing was edifying. Y'all be blessed. We'll see y'all on the next one. Shalom. Hello? Yeah. I don't know. I think he in the room. Oh, Lord.